3 years ago, Clint Eastwood quietly reflected on life, hinting that sometimes he still feels the presence of those he's lost. But at 94, instead of slowing down, he's defying every expectation with a life that feels almost unreal. Imagine waking up at 5 a.m., powering through a brutal workout most 30-year-olds would avoid, and then flying your own helicopter for the fun of it. That's Clint's morning. He recently snapped up yet another multi-million-dollar property simply because he liked how it looked. He doesn't just exist, he thrives, living a life so fierce that even his own children shake their heads in disbelief. Clint Eastwood's journey wasn't built the way legends usually are. Born May 31, 1930, weighing a whopping 11 pounds, he was nicknamed Samson by nurses. Growing up in the wealthy enclave of Piedmont, California, Clint's family had it all: swimming pools, country clubs, and a proud lineage tracing back to the Mayflower. But even privilege couldn't script an easy ride. He stumbled through school, failing junior high and barely scraping by at Oakland Technical High. Teachers glimpsed his talent on stage, but Clint brushed it off, more interested in fast cars and pretty girls. Underneath the rebellion, though, there was a spark. He could play the piano with breathtaking skill, foreshadowing the artist within. After high school, Clint didn't chase fame. Instead, he wrestled wild logs in Oregon and risked his life daily, a grind far rougher than anything Hollywood would later throw at him. Drafted into the Army, he manned lifeguard stations and broke up bar brawls. Then came the moment that could have ended it all. Clint survived a plane crash off the California coast and swam over 2 miles through icy, shark-infested waters. That brutal swim, filled with terror, would later breathe life into his haunting scenes in Escape from Alcatraz. His first steps into acting were anything but glamorous. In 1955, he played a nervous lab tech in Revenge of the Creature, fumbling lines and nearly getting cut from the film altogether. Paid just $75 a week, Clint seemed destined for obscurity. Universal Studios didn't see a star. They saw a lanky guy with a big Adam's apple, a slow drawl, and a chipped tooth. They axed his contract after only 18 months. Standing in the parking lot with Burt Reynolds, Clint took a brutal joke to heart. Reynolds laughed, saying, "You're screwed because I can learn to act. You can't lose that Adam's apple." But fate has a funny way of flipping the script. Years later, Clint stormed back into Universal, not as a nobody, but as a megastar demanding million-dollar paychecks. It's the kind of comeback that proves never underestimate the quiet ones. One day, purely by chance, CBS executive Robert Sparks spotted Clint at a studio cafeteria. One glance at Eastwood's towering frame, and a new opportunity was born. Clint soon landed the role of Rowdy Yates in Rawhide, and almost overnight, his life changed. The very traits that once had directors rolling their eyes now drew millions of fans. Yet even as Rawhide catapulted him to fame, Clint wasn't thrilled. He found the character immature, but he played the game, knowing it was a stepping stone. Behind the scenes, though, exhaustion gnawed at him. Grueling 6-day weeks under the blistering Arizona sun became his reality. He earned $750 per episode at first, soaring to a staggering $119,000 per episode by the show's final season. A financial leap that showed Clint understood the value of patience and persistence. Still, directors whispered about his notorious lateness, often rearranging shoots knowing Eastwood would roll in half an hour late. When Rawhide wrapped up, Clint hungered for change, and that change came wrapped in a bizarre package: a low-budget Western in Spain directed by an unknown Italian using the fake name Bob Robertson. Most American stars wouldn't touch it, but Clint? He saw a chance. He wasn't even the first choice. Sergio Leone had tried to snag big names like Henry Fonda, but couldn't afford them. Clint took the gamble, flying to Spain despite language barriers and chaotic production conditions. The movie, A Fistful of Dollars, transformed everything. It wasn't just his acting. Clint personally crafted the entire look of his now iconic gunslinger. The beat-up black jeans, second-hand poncho, weathered boots. It all came from his own instincts, not a wardrobe department. He even picked up the infamous cigars and hat himself, cementing the rugged, silent anti-hero that audiences couldn't get enough of. One powerful silence at a time, Clint built a character whose mystery gripped the world. Critics in America tore the films apart when they finally landed stateside. Words like cheap, dopey, and disaster splattered across reviews. Time magazine even mocked Clint's acting, comparing him to a piece of wood. But while the critics howled, audiences spoke louder, flocking to theaters and making the trilogy a phenomenon. Sometimes it's not the loudest voice that wins, but the one that quietly changes the game. As Eastwood's star rose, so did his empire. Clint's financial strategy was a masterclass in diversification. Beyond acting, he invested heavily in real estate, owning multiple properties across California, including a sprawling estate in Carmel and a historic hotel he personally renovated. His car collection reflected the same rugged individuality, favoring American muscle classics like the GMC Typhoon alongside his more luxurious Audi R8. When it came to watches, Clint leaned towards understated power, often spotted with vintage Rolex models, a subtle nod to enduring craftsmanship. Private aviation was another playground for Clint. Unlike many who charter flights, Eastwood piloted his own helicopters, valuing independence over indulgence. His business ventures included Malpaso Productions, a company he founded to gain creative and financial control over his films, a move that multiplied his wealth many times over. Personal and business insurance policies played a crucial role too, with coverage spanning health, aviation, and film productions, insulating his empire from the unpredictable swings of fortune. From the beginning, Clint's approach to money echoed his approach to life: quiet, strategic, and fiercely independent. He wasn't the flashiest spender in Hollywood, but every deal was calculated. Every risk weighed against a lifetime of lessons learned the hard way. The greatest takeaway from Eastwood's financial journey? Build assets that work while you sleep, guard your freedom, and never bet everything on one path. The spaghetti westerns that catapulted Clint Eastwood into stardom weren't supposed to change Hollywood, but they did, and they did it spectacularly. For a combined production cost that could barely cover the catering bill of a modern blockbuster, Eastwood's trilogy raked in over $84 million worldwide. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly alone roared past $39 million, selling an eye-watering 44 million tickets. These gritty, sun-scorched epics carved a new genre into the Hollywood hills, and Eastwood stood at its peak, untouched by the early sneers of critics, who later had no choice but to bow down. But the real twist came when Eastwood was offered a different kind of role, one that could have crashed everything he'd built. The character of Harry Callahan in Dirty Harry wasn't originally his. Frank Sinatra, yes, the Sinatra, was first in line, wrestling with it for months before walking away. Paul Newman gave it a sideways glance and handed it to Eastwood, sensing it belonged to someone with a tougher kind of glare. One by one, Hollywood's titans, Wayne, Mitchum, McQueen, all said no. And in a moment that defined destiny, Eastwood said yes. Sometimes the biggest fortunes are built when everyone else is too scared to take the gamble. And gamble he did. With his own production company steering the ship, Clint Eastwood took the risk that transformed a police thriller into a cinematic thunderclap. He wasn't just acting, he was crafting his legend with bare hands. But the roller coaster wasn't over yet. In 1978, Eastwood shocked everyone by swapping his six-shooter for an orangutan. Every which way but loose sounded like career suicide on paper. A tough-as-nails Dirty Harry cuddling up with a monkey? Audiences should have laughed him off the screen. Instead, they filled theaters, handing Eastwood a staggering $100 million success. The sequel barreled forward with another $70 million, proof that when Eastwood bets on instinct, the world follows. Yet beneath the laughter, a heartbreaking story unfurled. Clyde, the beloved orangutan co-star, met a tragic end after alleged mistreatment. A grim reminder that Hollywood's brightest lights often cast the darkest shadows. High-stakes risks weren't just a professional habit. They were Eastwood's way of life. During the filming of The Eiger Sanction, a climber lost his life scaling the north face of Switzerland's deadly peaks. Production almost ground to a halt, but Clint, then 44, made a decision that left everyone speechless. He'd do the death-defying stunts himself. No body doubles, no CGI, just a man, a mountain, and a steely refusal to blink. That wasn't his first brush with mortality either. Long before fame, Eastwood survived a terrifying plane crash into shark-infested waters. If fear could kill, he once joked, he would have never made it. Imagine a world where Clint Eastwood wore a cape and tights, because that's what Hollywood tried to make happen. Eastwood was approached to be the first Superman of the modern era and even offered the chance to sip martinis as James Bond. But he turned them down cold, knowing that his brand was built on grit, not glamour. He wasn't about to trade his squint for a spandex suit. In a town where every actor seemed to be chasing the next big thing, Eastwood was playing a different game, building an empire that would outlive trends. His real empire, though, wasn't made of scripts and screens alone. Over the decades, Clint Eastwood's real estate portfolio quietly expanded into a colossus. From his famous Pebble Beach properties to sprawling ranches in California's Carmel Valley, where he even served as mayor, Eastwood's holdings are now valued well over $100 million. His main residence, a breathtaking estate perched near Carmel by the sea, boasts panoramic ocean views, private hiking trails, and an old-world charm that mirrors the man himself. Today, Clint Eastwood's net worth is estimated around $375 million, with steady projections suggesting it could cross the $400 million mark within a few years, thanks to residuals from his vast film library, his real estate ventures, and continued limited but powerful project involvement. From a struggling TV actor making peanuts on rawhide to one of the richest and most respected figures in entertainment, his financial journey is a masterclass in slow-burning, self-made success. Behind the scenes, Eastwood's philosophy reshaped Hollywood norms. On set, he earned a reputation as the director who never wasted time or energy. While others demanded countless takes and endless rehearsals, Clint captured magic in the moment. "You get one take, maybe two," Jeff Daniels once recalled. Matt Damon, an Oscar winner himself, found himself begging for a second chance on Invictus. Eastwood's sets ran silent, sharp, and on schedule, proof that mastery doesn't shout, it simply acts. One of Eastwood's most brilliant strategic moves came when he launched Malpaso Productions in 1967, a name that translates to "bad step," a cheeky jab at the agent who warned him that doing low-budget westerns would ruin him. Instead, they made him. The money from those risky films wasn't squandered. It was poured back into land, property, and full creative control. By the time Hang 'em High hit theaters, Eastwood wasn't just an actor. He was the architect of his destiny. Even into his 60s, when most stars were quietly fading away, Clint Eastwood orchestrated a comeback for the ages. He bided his time with a weathered script called The Cut Killings, later known as Unforgiven. Studios had passed it over again and again. Even Coppola couldn't get it made, but Eastwood believed. And when the time was right, at 62 years old, he unleashed it. Unforgiven stormed the Oscars, pulling in $159 million and cementing his place not just as an actor or a director, but as a storyteller for the ages. It would have been enough for most. But Clint Eastwood doesn't do enough. In his 70s, he crafted Million Dollar Baby, a story so emotionally raw and daring that it terrified studios. Still, Eastwood charged ahead, once again trusting his instincts when the world flinched. The result? Another Academy Award, another cultural earthquake, and another reminder that Clint Eastwood doesn't follow Hollywood. He leads it. The truth is, Eastwood didn't just stumble into late career greatness. He bulldozed into it with Million Dollar Baby. Warner Brothers barely blinked at it, giving it a modest push at first, almost expecting it to fade. Instead, it detonated. The movie cracked $216 million at the box office and swept the Oscars, turning Eastwood from a respected director into a cinematic giant whose instincts no one dared question again. Here's where it gets really interesting. While others chased box office trends, Eastwood chased the raw truth of human emotion. One shot, two shots max. He trusted his actors to deliver, because he knew real life doesn't come with endless rehearsals. As Tom Hanks joked, Eastwood treated actors like horses. Speak softly or you'll spook them. That gentle mastery became his secret weapon. Then came Gran Torino, a thunderclap no one predicted. At nearly 80, Eastwood played a grizzled war vet with a bitterness that felt eerily familiar. The world watched, hooked and stunned, as the $270 million smash painted an unforgettable portrait of regret and reluctant redemption. The ghost of Dirty Harry hovered just below the surface, but this Clint was older, wiser, more haunted. Audiences couldn't get enough. And yet, behind that tough exterior, hidden chapters of Eastwood's personal story were slowly surfacing. Chapters that would reveal the man in full, both brilliant and deeply flawed. For decades, a major part of Clint's life was a secret even to him. Imagine living your whole life unaware that you have a daughter. That's exactly what happened when Laurie Murray, adopted and raised far from Hollywood, went digging into her roots and found the truth. Her biological father was Clint Eastwood. When they finally connected, there was no public scandal, no messy headlines, just a quiet, surprising bond. It was a stunning reveal. A 64-year-old secret stepping into the light, yet another twist in a life already packed with unexpected turns. But Eastwood's life wasn't just defined by hidden children or surprise reunions. His relationship with stuntwoman Roxanne Tunis was an open secret for years. They weren't just lovers, they were partners in a sense, for over a decade. Their daughter Kimber grew up quietly, her father's fame a distant echo. Roxanne's death in 2023 hit Clint like a silent blow. She had been there longer than most of his relationships survived. And just when you think you know Clint's story, it shifts again. A reminder that sometimes the most powerful dramas happen off-screen. Sandra Locke was another whirlwind chapter. Their 14-year romance seemed golden, until it wasn't. When she came home to find the Locks changed, the illusion shattered. Court battles followed, painting Clint in a far less heroic light. Offers were made and rescinded, lawsuits filed, reputations bruised. If you ever needed proof that even Hollywood giants bleed, here it was. One powerful truth rises from it. Those who stand tallest often hide the deepest fractures. Meanwhile, Jocelyn Reeves, a flight attendant far from the Hollywood spotlight, entered Clint's life quietly, but left a lasting impact. Mother to two more of his children, Scott and Catherine, she asked for no fame, no courtroom battles, no headlines. Yet even that chapter stirred future storms. Family tensions exploded into public view in 2024, when Catherine's online posts revealed that time hadn't healed all wounds. Fame, fortune, secrets, they all left scars. And while all of this was unfolding, Clint was quietly building an empire few talk about. It showed us all that even at 94, he remains a lightning rod for fierce loyalty and fierce debate. Family insiders say he shuns birthday celebrations, brushing off parties and fuss as unnecessary distractions. "I don't think he even likes being reminded he's aged," one friend quipped. For Eastwood, it's simple. Keep working, keep living. His daughter Allison says the greatest lesson Clint ever taught her was to never take life too seriously. It's a lesson written all over his face, from his early cowboy days to now, still hustling when most of his peers have faded into memory. Thanks for riding through Clint Eastwood's wild, untamed journey with us. If you loved this deep dive, smash like, drop a comment, and subscribe. Big legends, bigger stories coming soon.